leaving that, and hopefully the next one I'm aiming to get to should be a little bit more sheltered, particularly considering the fact that today's a Monday. It's probably got 10 to 15 knots of northeasterly wind coming straight into this bay. The bay that I'm hoping to sail to today is definitely sheltered from a nor'easter, because it's meant to get up to 25 knots over the next 2 days. It'd be a good time to be making ground, but I'm hoping Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I can stay at this anchorage and check out a couple of creeks there, and then hopefully on Thursday there's still a decent nor'easter blowing and I can make pretty good ground that day as well. It's another beautiful day, just incredible. A few clouds around, but not really, just magic. So I've got to get around this point, and that should be a pretty good broad reach all the way to where I'm hoping to get to today. Hopefully a nice sail. Well, a lot more manageable than the other day where I was just hanging on for dear life. This is ideal. It's blowing. Be nice if it was a little bit stronger. It's probably only 12 knots, I reckon. But we're doing about 4.5. Got about 25 miles to cover. So, yeah, give or take 5 hours. 5 to 6 hours. I think the tide is on my side at the moment. It's in the lower half of the tide, and it's hard to tell on the charts, but I think the incoming higher half of the tide, the current's heading north towards Anchorage, and on the lower half of the tide, the current's going the other way. Doesn't give a lot of information, but judging by the tides closer to Anchorage, that's what happens there. So I'm assuming it's all interlinked, and it happens way down here on the peninsula as well. But as I came out the other day, it was definitely, the tide was definitely going north. Can't really remember what the tide was doing at that stage though, but the current was headed north. And right now with 10 to 12 knots of breeze, I'm guessing it's either deadish or at least headed south. Otherwise I wouldn't be moving very fast at all. So anyway, it's going to be a longish afternoon. It's about 11 in the morning, and yeah, the wind, judging by the last couple of days, it could well pick up into the afternoon, and we'll get there a lot quicker. But right now, kick back and relax, and it's another beautiful day here in paradise. Well, we're just about across the bay now. There's a bit of a drop in the wind. There's only about 8, probably 10 knots maybe at the moment, and we're only doing about 3 knots of boat speed, but slowly but surely getting there. Just trying to round the beginning of this headland, but as has happened a couple of times with the first headland and a bit of a point halfway across the bay, as soon as you get in front of the land, the wind drops off and starts getting pretty finicky. But One interesting thing that I've noticed, I just saw one then, I've seen a couple of salmon jumping, which is pretty cool. It's the beginning of the salmon run, so to speak, I guess, the season. This time last year I was catching coho at sea in June. So I just got the rod out of the dinghy. We're going so slow I was able to drag it up behind the boat to the stern and fish it out. But I was picking up too much weed back there. But on the way through this little pass here, we're probably only doing a couple of knots. I'll struggle to get the lure working, but I'm just going to drop it out. Keep an eye out for this boom. There's very little wind, very little weed though, so I'll hopefully not pick up any weed, and there's a few rocks over there. Who knows, maybe a salmon, maybe some kind of bottom fish. Just going to chuck it out on the way through and see what the lure can pick up. Very, very slow trolling speed. We'll see, it's probably not even swimming properly. Got to be in it to win it, I guess. Just hope I can get into this bay. I hope the wind picks up a bit again. Just about to sneak through this little gap up here and then turn the corner and we're into the bay. It's a pretty deep bay though, so I'll have to go, geez, I don't know, I think it's probably another 4 mile at least to get up to where I want to anchor, but be nice and smooth. Hopefully this breeze, it's not that strong, but it's strong enough. I'm kicking along at about 2 to 3 knots, and that should be plenty to get up to where I want to drop anchor for the next few nights. Really is an amazing landscape. You can just see the layers, layer upon layer of volcanic activity from goodness knows how far back. Ash layer, lava layer, you name it. It's incredible. And then you got all the plate tectonics since then lifting it and tilting it. It's a pretty spectacular landscape. It really is. Less and less snow every day though. It feels like summer. Well, no hits on the lure. Just about to turn now. It's a 15 odd metre channel through here. Really is an amazing landscape. This here is basically an ancient lava flow. All these tiny islands. Quite possibly pushed out there by glaciers during the last ice age 60 odd thousand years ago, and the ocean has just been eroding it ever since. I wonder how many more thousands of years it'll take before they're all gone. Just little pinnacles, the toughest rock left behind. It's quite amazing. The toughest being the metamorphic rock, you know, the granite, stuff like that, but mixed amongst that there's lots of sedimentary layered stone, and that stuff gets eroded quite easily. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We go, not a fish to be seen. Incredible. I can't believe that I can troll through it. A spot like that, it's only 14, 12 metres deep. My lure right in the strike zone. No rockfish, no lingcod, nothing. Pretty strange. We're getting a long way away from civilization here too. We're a long boat ride away for day trippers, etc. So where are the fish? It just doesn't make any sense. One problem with all these bays though, and it's partly to do with volcanoes, is that they're quite shallow. They're not very deep, which For rockfish, ideally 30 meters, maybe more. Lingcod as well. Halibut, same sort of thing, 20 meters, 30, 40, 50, you name it. So, yeah, fishing could be a little bit tough, you know, because a lot of these bays are only 10 meters deep. Like the one I was in the last 2 nights, I was anchored in 4 meters. The whole bay was 4 meters deep. So the bigger fish, they're not near where I'm anchored, you know. I'm gonna have to be taking the dinghy a long way to find deep water. Blimmin' Hetzel's giving me grief again. Still got a couple of miles to go to get into the end of this bay. I was going to pull in just to the side here, but the wind has actually started angling in from the east-southeast. It's meant to go around to the northeast the next couple of days and a little bit today, but they're not always right. So I am definitely guessing the next couple of days though it will come in from a bit more than north, because there is a low that's just come up into the Gulf of Alaska near Yakutat and what have you, and that should bring the top end of that low, should bring some northeasterlies. Still gonna get right up the end of the bay. I figure the deeper I go, the less chance I get of wind getting into me. It's even calmer here than what I've experienced the last 3 or 4 nights, so it should be okay. They're deep bays, you know, they just keep going and going. They're not as long as the fjords, but they're still really deep bays. But this bay here, the whole way, is none of it's deeper than 15 meters. Most of it's 12 meters deep, the whole lot. You know, it's massive bays. They're just so shallow, just buried with thousands of years of volcanic ash and I don't know, sand, you name it. Yeah, the glaciers haven't, you know, most of my travels so far coming around the Alaskan coast and British Columbia as well, a lot of it, if not all of it, has been in glacial fjords. So these volcanic islands and volcanic shorelines on the Alaska Peninsula here and then into the Aleutians, they're quite different to what I'm used to. It's quite interesting. Anyway, we'll get there soon enough and we'll be anchored down. Well, nearly there. It's 6:45, so what did I say? So I estimated about 6 o'clock, I think, this morning at 10:30 when I left. So not too bad, close to my estimate. Definitely haven't done 4.5 knots the whole way, but had some good moments still. And a nice little bay here, a little stream runs into the back of the beach, and this big beach at the head of the main bay, there's a stream on it which comes from a small lake which doesn't look too far away judging by the lie of the land. So the next couple of days I definitely like to hike upstream on that little creek and get to the lake and see if there's any fish in the lake and the stream. This entire bay here, it's 4 meters up to about 10 meters, so you can catch halibut in that sort of water, but prawns and crabs, I don't know, I don't like my chances. We'll see how I go. I might drop the traps, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult, I suspect, in these kind of shallow bays, catching crabs and prawns, particularly with all the otters, but see how I go, you never do know. One good thing about the shallow water and the sand everywhere is that I can basically just sail into this bay, round up into the wind, drop the sail, walk up the bow, drop the anchor. No motor required, dead easy. Plenty of space to drift. Not trying to target some little shallow patch of sand because it's all shallow, so no problem. Okay, here we go. I'll take you along for the ride. First of all, we've sheeted the sail in so that it's not going to swing around and take my head off. Now we just drop it. The rest of the boat speed will swing up into the wind, and that's it. Sail down. The rudder straight. Off the wheel. Now the wind will just blow us back a little bit. I'll drop the anchor and it'll set. Bob's your uncle. Voila! It's easy as that. We're off a nice little bay. Looks beautiful. Amazing cliff features. Look at the erosion up here. Just layer upon layer. As old as the hills, as they say. Or the mountains in this case. And it reminds me a little bit of Table Mountain, that there in South Africa. Check out my Africa books if you're interested in Africa. Done plenty of fishing and travel there. Okay, pack up this sail. It's done me well for the day. Can't go to sleep without ducking ashore and having a quick look around. Oh, there's some bear tracks I can see already. paw. Wow, they are big bears in this part of the world, I tell you. Really big. They're all brown bears and they are big. It's his back foot. Close to sideways. Big bears. And lots of them, which is good. Here we go. This here looks like a cub. Could be a mother, that big one. Very small. Compare that to that. Yeah, that's a mother and cub there. That's great to see. They're the most dangerous of them all though. The sow with the cub, not good. Not good to interrupt them too much. Great to see though. Great to see. This here is the creek. One of the creeks anyway. I just heard some sort of animal in here, which is basically where the bear would be hiding with its cub. Here's some of its scat. Pretty good sized bear. But what I heard up there then sounded like a dog. Sure, could be a fox or a wolf. Perfect looking little stream. No doubt gets a couple of pinks into it. But right now, as per usual, there is no rises and no indication of there being any kind of Dolly Varden, rainbow, grayling, nothing. Too small perhaps. That's my I'm here whistle. Don't want to scare them, that's the main thing. You got to let them know you're there. Whenever I'm going into thicker cover like this, I'll make a bit of noise, make a whistle, say hello. Pack my guns, man. I don't pack guns, but I do make a bit of noise if I'm going into thick bush. Just so they know you're there. Usually they disappear pretty quick. Gosh, these rivers, they look so good. They look so good for trout, but I'm yet to see a trout in any of them. Oh well. The sad thing, of course, is that if you let them know you're there, then they disappear and you don't really get to see them. Better than getting munched though. So I'd rather they leave me and I'll leave them alone. Out on those open riverbeds, they let you see them there quite easily. They're the king of the jungle, that's for sure. A beautiful stream. One thing that I'm not seeing in this river is salmon fry, fingerlings, small trout. Sorry, small salmon. If there's no salmon run, then it's highly unlikely that there'll be trout of any kind. This is interesting. Something's been digging here. Not sure what though. Perfect deep holes. No fish. Plenty of bugs around again. Warm, sunny, spring, summer almost kind of day. You know, if there's fish, there's risers. But here, there's not even small trout. Galaxids, nothing. So, yeah. Back to the ocean again if I'm going to be eating fish. And I'm going to drop that crab and prawn trap, and even if I can catch a sculpin just to use it for bait tomorrow. That's the plan. More canned food, which I don't really want to do, but looks like that's what it is tonight. Okay, we've got fingerlings here. Hard to see what they are. Yeah, I was just gonna say, a river like this, even in the sorry state of affairs that is salmon in the North Pacific, or salmon in the Pacific full stop, where they're native anyway, as in the North Pacific, even rivers like this still have pinks, usually. The old pinks. They seem to be like cockroaches. They're gonna be there at the end no matter what. Be nice if all the other 5 or the other 4 species are there too. Let's hope they are. So that's good. You know, there's a good chance there's a small coho run here as well. A few chum. King salmon, highly unlikely, as the river's too small. And even if there ever was a king salmon run here, it's probably finished by now, unfortunately. Pretty small stream though. The king salmon tend to go for the bigger ones, the bigger rivers. And it's interesting that if you look at the really good rainbow trout rivers in Alaska, Willow Creek, the Kenai, the other thing they have in common is that they've got good, well, they had good king salmon runs, and as far as king salmon runs go now, they're still probably the better runs. Of course, they're nowhere near as good as what they used to be, but they're renowned for king salmon. Those rivers, Willow Creek, the Kenai, Willow Creek being a tributary of the Susitna, they are renowned for king salmon and rainbow trout. So I wonder if the two go together. Anyway, go drop these traps and back to the boat. See what tomorrow brings.